So, good evening, everyone. Just thought I'd come on. I know it's been a while. Everything's just been kind of hectic and negative, and it's just, just trying not to get into it, be honest. But, anyways, so today we'll talk about kind of a catch up, all's going on. I'm sure y'all been keeping up with it better than I have. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot been going on since the last video. Obviously, we got ourselves into a conflict. No, it's not a war. I don't understand why people call it that. That's just convenient for them to do that just to get likes and subscribers and hype and all this nonsense that's going on these days. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But it's not a war. A war has to be declared by Congress. So it's just a little conflict. Every president has been guilty of it. I think Biden's the only one that really actually didn't actually start a conflict, but President Obama started one, the Bushes started one, Clinton, they've all had their conflicts. So I guess President Trump is no different. So no, it's not a war by no stretch of the imagination. But regardless if you feel we should have got into it or not, that's irrelevant at this point. What was I going to say? You know, Iran has, killed Americans, whether directly or indirectly through their proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, name them, they probably backed them. They've been chanting death to America for approximately 47 plus years. So, President Trump finally got tired of it. And for whatever reason, whether he was bullied into it, whether he really wanted to do it, it really doesn't matter at this point. Should Iran have nuclear weapons? No, and everybody agreed on at least on that point. We took care of that, supposedly. And so the president took it a step further and said, well, okay, you want to keep doing whatever you're doing, then we're going to do this. And of course, the Israelis were happy to help. And y'all know how I feel about the Israelis. I separate the religion from the government. There are two totally separate groups. There's not a reason in the world you could convince me they're the same, because they're not. Judaism has nothing to do with the government. I don't care what the government says. I don't care what anybody says. Judaism has nothing to do with the government. You can support and, be respectful of Judaism and not support the Israeli government. It's just that simple. So yeah, it's been a very active news cycle since the last video. A lot's been going on. Of course, the attacks on the president have not stopped, and they never will. They're after him about the new ballroom, which I have no issue with, especially since the taxpayers aren't paying for it. I have no issue with it whatsoever. I think it's a great idea. Supposedly now he's building an arch on the, near the White House along the memorial, I guess, in that park. I don't know, I guess, if that's what he wants to do. Let's see. What else is going on? Well, I guess the Iran thing is the biggest thing going on. Obviously, gas prices have gone up. In the last couple of days, they've gone down about 4 cents here, which we all know they go up faster than it goes down. So, it's just the way it is. And even though we don't get hardly any of our gas from that region, oil prices are all connected. So when something affects the oil prices, everybody suffers, unfortunately, which was to be expected. No shock or surprise there. But yeah, so militarily, we've won the conflict. That's a no-brainer. That was easy enough. Unfortunately, there were some casualties, but very limited. I think 13 in total, I believe, either directly or indirectly, which is unfortunate, but that's, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that's nothing. You know, in the military, we understand the risks of the job, so you don't want anybody to die, but it's just part of the job. And if you don't know that, you shouldn't join the military. It's just that simple. Um, so uh, yeah, the Iran thing has been the thing. Now, the peace talks didn't go through as we were hoping. You should want peace. Um, Nobody wants conflict of any kind, if all possible. But it didn't work out. The Iranians did not want to give up their ambitions for any type of uranium enrichment or any type of like that, and that's the biggest red flag in all the negotiation was you cannot have any uranium enrichment to build any more nuclear weapons. It's just not going to happen. And they didn't want to. They probably agreed to a bunch, according to what I read. They agreed to a lot of it, but they just didn't want to agree to that, and that's the biggest thing. Everything else can be worked out. So the talks failed after 21 hours there in Pakistan, which is unfortunate. Um, and so President Trump has decided to blockade, not the strait, you idiots. People listening to social media and news have no clue. They don't bother to doggone listen. He's not close blockading the whole strait. He's just blockading the Iranian ports along the Hormuz Strait. For all you idiots that believe all that nonsense and posting it on social media is ridiculous. He's blocking the Iranian ports, which means the Iranians aren't going to be making any money selling their oil and gas to China and the other people that are their allies or friends. So they're losing. I think I heard today approximately $250 million a day. I think it started today about 10 a.m. Eastern. So that's what he's doing. He's not blocking the strait. Anybody who wants to go get gas from anywhere else can go get it. We had two Navy ships went through the strait the other day. They're clearing out whatever mines are left. They're going through the strait, so we should be seeing traffic going through there much more normally. Saudi Arabia started using their oil pipeline to pump the gas to the Red Sea, so they're picking up oil from the Red Sea. Now, this is the kicker. Iran can't match us militarily. That's already been proven. But what they do have is they know that the American people are weak, especially these last few generations. Very weak. Gen Z, millennials, Gen A, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, whatever you want to call them. Weak, 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 weak. They can't stomach nothing. They can't take nothing. Overly emotional. And they know, because of social media, that people are already upset because of the high gas prices, which everybody should have known was going to come. And of course, with high gas prices, everything else goes up because when gas goes up, companies add you know hike prices for everything, food, everything goes up because of oil. That's just the way it is. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's the way it is. And so you just have to make adjustments the best you can. Um, but what they do have, what Iran does have going for them is they know that the American people are weak and they can't stomach nothing. So what they're hoping is that they're going to hold out because they know the American people are going to start whining and complaining because of gas prices and everything else. And then the president's going to have to take a deal that he doesn't want to take. And in the end, they're gonna get what they want, which is unacceptable. We can't let them get what they want. They've gotten what they want for 47 plus since the fall of the Shah. They've gotten what they wanted. Everybody's kowtowed. Prior presidents have kowtowed. President Obama sent them cash. Every other president is kowtowed to the Iranians because the Iranians had the Trump card. They had oil. They had gas. Well, guess what? I think the president posted something on X or True Social or something. He said says something to the effect of the Great Reset. And in thinking about that, I saw on the news today that the tankers are not going to the Middle East. They're coming to the United States. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the Iranians thought they had the upper hand, but they just lost it. Because now people are coming to Texas to get their oil and gas instead of going to the Middle East. Now, of course, you're going to still have some that go to the Middle East, to Saudi Arabia and Oman and the other places that, rely on, on that as well. But now all of a sudden people are coming to the United States. Literally ships are doing U-turns and coming all the way to Texas, Galveston, and those areas to get their gas instead of going to the Middle East. Wow. So what that does is it takes whatever leverage the Iranians have. They still might have the social media thing going for them, but whatever leverage they had, they've now miscalculated because now people are coming to America to get their oil and gas, to potentially include the Chinese if they want oil, because they're not going to get it from Iran because we've blocked all their ports from people who have paid the bribery money, whatever that is. Nobody can get in or out of any Iranian ports. They can go somewhere else, but they just can't go to the Iranian ports, despite what you hear on the news, which is a bunch of nonsense. So I think Iran hopefully will be coming back to the table real quick, because now they're going to be losing approximately $250,000 a day. $250 million a day. Which is no small chump change. Their military is gone. They can't do anything militarily. Now they're finna lose their largest income, which is oil. We'll see. But of course, the Iranians are going to still are going to try to hold out because they know the American people are weak and they can't stomach nothing, and they have no intestinal fortitude, and they can't see the big picture like most like a lot of countries look long term. Here in America, we're totally short term, microwave. We want everything done now. We can't see long term. And for all of Trump's faults, Trump is looking long term, in my opinion. And all this, for all his bombasticness, for all his phrases that make you cringe and all this other stuff, in the end, there's a plan behind all of it. Most people don't see it. Most people don't want to see it. And that's on them. I think that if you've read his book and you know how he is, then you know he's just going through his playbook. Why are people trying to pigeonhole him into something that they want him to be, instead of just accepting the fact of who he is, flaws and all, and just allow him to do what he does? Like every president, you're going to do some things that people like, and you're going to do some things that people don't like. But in the end, prayerfully, you're doing what's in the best interest of the country, not necessarily for a certain group, because you're always going to have detractors, especially President Trump. So he's looking long term. He's looking at the long haul. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's what people don't understand about foreign policy. Foreign policy is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And people think it's a sprint, and they expect something here, now, and quickly. And that's just not how it works. not only had you have to, overcome cultural and ethnic barriers and all these other things, but you have to come to some sort of an agreement. You have to have some sort of middle ground. And people just don't have the patience here in the United States for this. And I don't understand why. We didn't used to be like this, but these last few generations, not only overly emotional, but they have no patience for nothing. They expect everything instantaneously. And that's just not how it works. We're so used to our phones and everything else happening instantaneously. And then when they don't, we get all bent over backwards. So, again, for all his faults, we have to let the plan come to fruition, in my opinion. The post that they say he made uh, that supposedly, and I mean I saw the post, but that he equated himself to Jesus is absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, it was not a good post to make. He shouldn't have did it. He took it down because it was obviously dumb to do. Do I think he thinks he's Jesus? No, because he said so himself that he's not. And yeah, he has said so himself he's not. And he doesn't. I don't even think he thinks he's that good. But unfortunately, again, you have to take him for who he is. He's the type to make those type of posts. Not smart, not wise, in my opinion. Should have never made it. But now people are running with it, saying that now he thinks he's Jesus. He's far from it. So there's no way he can even compare himself to that. Nor should people even take it that way because he's far from it. There's nobody that can compare themselves to Jesus. I don't care who you are. So why even get yourself all bent out of shape saying that you're Jesus and you're far from it? Yeah. So, people that hate the president, and I say hate, and I do mean that word hate, to include quote unquote saints and Christians who hate, especially African American saints and Christians who hate President Trump, because I know some of them, and other ethnic groups, Hispanics and whatnot. They're going to use whatever they can to try to push whatever they feel is the agenda to make them look bad. And it is what it is. People, have the right to do whatever, do whatever. Doesn't make it fact, doesn't make it truth. It is what it is. I think that it wasn't smart, it wasn't wise. It was wise for him to take it down, but it wasn't smart. So, it is what it is. People are going to start pushing it and doing all this stuff because they hate the man. It's just that simple. They're going to deny it. They're going to say that, that because I'm a Christian or I'm a saint that I don't hate. Yeah, you do. You do. You do. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be doing all that you do on social media. You just wouldn't. You can disagree with somebody, you can, whatever, but to continuously attack somebody and somebody's character and somebody's personality when you don't even know that person, you're only going off of what you see on social media and what you see on the news, is hate. You don't know. So you're just defaming a person that you don't even know, but you're just following along with the people, all these other people who are doing the same thing. And you think it's cool and you think that you need to do it because it's just, you just feel you need to do it. No, I just stay out of that. I just stay out of that because again, for all his faults and for all the things that he does, you have to take him for who he is. And if you look at him for who he is, and if you've read his book, and if you see how he does things, then you'll understand why he does what he does. He's bombastic. He does all that for a reason. There's a reason why he does that. There's a reason why he gets people to raise their eyebrows and be in shock and it's all a show to get the real results, to get the results that he wants, to get to get the win. He does all that and he's not afraid to do it. But you have to know this. I'm not saying you have to like it. You just have to know it. And I think that's the problem people have, is they don't take people as individuals. They want to lump everybody into groups. They want to lump everybody into, this, that, or the other, or they want to lump in people into things that they are what they think they should be. And you need to look at people as on an individual basis. And that's our problem. We don't look at people as individuals. I'm I'm a victim of it just like everybody else is. They don't look at people as individuals. They look at people and they group them together, whether it be by the color of your skin, whether it be by what you believe, whether it be by whatever it is. They want to lump you into groups when most people aren't like that. They just want to be judged as what they do as an individual. They may belong to different groups, but that even if you belong to these groups, it doesn't mean everybody's the same or thinks the same. They just might be in these groups because a lot of what they believe in aligns with what this group is. That doesn't mean they believe in everything that group does, but mostly what they believe aligns with the group they belong to. And that's with anybody. And there's no other alternative in a lot of cases. Some people might not even want to be in that group, but that's the only group that that they can be a part of, that either aligns or semi-aligns with their beliefs, and that's all they got. And unless they're willing to start something on their own. And so, I get real sick and tired of these people doing this, and it's all over social media. And social media is global. It has a global reach, and people put out all this stuff. They put out all this hate. They put out all this stuff, and that's what it is. It's hate. It's not disagreement. There's a difference between disagreement and hate. Disagreement is not personal attacks on people. It's not slander. It's not defamation. That's hate. The disagreement is just you disagree with somebody's policy, or you disagree with the way people handle it, but you don't, you know what I'm saying? You don't denigrate them. You don't slander them. You don't defame them. You don't do personal attacks on them. You just disagree with their policy or whatever. That's a difference. But people don't know how to do that now, and that's part of the problem. And so I just stay out of it. And I come on here and say my little piece, and I call it a day. But I think that the resetting, as President Trump put it, of the world, or of the I can't even remember what I had said, but the kind of the resetting of how things go was his plan all along. Him blocking the Iranian ports in the Hormuz Strait was his plan all along. Especially if they didn't come to a peace deal. Why? Because now they're coming to the United States to get their oil. And guess what? We're going to make money. America first. Now we're going to be making the money. And now we're going to be a largest exporter of oil instead of the Middle East. Go figure. And he's able to do this in less than a year and a half. So, see, people choose to see nothing but negative, but they don't look at the positive aspects of what's going on. Again, you don't have to like the man, but you got to look at the whole totality of a person. You can't just make judgments on all the bad things that you perceive him doing and then not say nothing about the good things that he's doing. That's one thing against these Christians, so-called Christians and saints. All they talk about is the bad stuff, but you don't talk about the good stuff that's right along with the Bible. Keeping men out of women's bathrooms. Why aren't you talking about that? You should be all for him doing that, because that's definitely not biblical for men to be transitioning into women and women transitioning to men and men going into women's bathrooms and women going into men's bathrooms. That's something we can all agree on as Christians and saints. Again, I have no problem with them existing in the world. They can do whatever they want. But do your thing. Your thing. Don't force yourself upon other folk that don't want to do that. That's where the problems lie. Hey, you choose to live your lifestyle by all means. But don't push it on me. Don't force me to have to live it. or have to put up with it or have to see it. That's my choice. Just like it's your choice to live whatever you want to live. And that's fine. But they don't want to mention any of that stuff. And therein lies the problem. Therein lies the hypocrisy and all the other things that really upset me. And that's why I don't agree with politics in church. Keep that mess out. Sunday service is for the word and for discipleship. Period. If you want to talk politics, wait till you get home, get on your social media page and do whatever you want. But if you're a pastor, keep that mess to yourself and just stick to the word and discipleship and call it a day. What you do after church, what you do at home, what you do with your friends, that's your business. But keep that mess to yourself. I'm sick of it. I really am. I'm so sick of it. It is really bad. And I'm sure it's bad in all churches, not just black churches like the one I belong to and the Reformation I belong to, but white churches too and everything else. Everybody's guilty of it these days. Keep that mess out. Because church is not the place for that. Church is not the place for that. Keep your politics to yourself. And if you're not praying for the man, stop talking about the man. Stop throwing the stone and hiding your hand, because that's exactly what you're doing. Stop doing that mess. Keep your mouth shut. If you're not praying for the leader, stop talking about the leader. And if you are praying for the leader, you definitely need to stop talking about him. We're supposed to be praying for our leaders, whether you agree with them or not. Stop talking about them. Stop trying to throw stuff at them and then hide your hand like you ain't doing something. Stop being hypocritical and pray for him. If you don't like his policies, fine. When it's time to vote, then go vote whatever. But pray. Let God sort it out. Stop thinking that you're trying to do God's work by talking mess and slander and all this other stuff. You're not. Pray about it. Say, Lord, have your way with our leader. Pray for your leader, whether you agree with him or not. And leave it in God's hands. And call it a day. And let God handle it. That's what you tell us to do every time you preach on Sunday. Stop trying to do this, that, and the other and put it in God's hands. Well, you need to do the same thing. Stop talking all this smack about the president that you hate, even though you say you don't hate nobody, which you do, and just pray. And maybe if you prayed about it and let God handle it, you wouldn't be talking so much. Maybe there are better things you can be talking about. Maybe you can actually be talking about positive things on your social media accounts. Maybe there are positive things you'd be talking about over the pulpit. Instead of talking about the president of the United States that we all should be praying for, that he does everything that this country needs to get done so that we can be prosperous and we all can live in whatever way we want to live. You don't have to like the man to want the man to be successful. And that's with any president. That was with President Trump, President Obama, President Biden, President Clinton, both Bushes. You want every president to be successful. Why wouldn't you be? If you don't want to, then you don't need to be living here. You need to go somewhere else if you don't want a successful leader. That's stupid. Stop talking about it and do something. Either go vote, and if your candidate can get in, then pray. Put it in God's hands and leave it alone. And do more in your local community where the real movers and shakers are doing in the cities and states. And stop complaining about who the president is because the person you voted for didn't get in office. Okay, get over it. Move on. If it's bothering you that much, you need deliverance. And a lot of these pastors need some deliverance. A lot of these bishops need deliverance. Serious deliverance. Because this is ridiculous. They keep telling us to put stuff in God's hands. They need to do the exact same thing. This stuff really irks me. It really does. And it's embarrassing. No pastor, no bishop should be promoting any political candidate. They should just go tell their people to go out and vote. They should be telling people who to vote for. They should be telling people just to go vote. Let the people decide who they want to vote for. Don't you push them to go vote for somebody. You just tell people go vote and leave it at that and put it in God's hands. Get so tired of these people, and it's only getting worse. It's only getting worse. It's just so hypocritical. It's so hypocritical. And I'm just tired of it. I got to turn this light on because it's getting kind of, even though it's not dark outside, it's getting dark in here. Oh, that's a whole lot better. But it's so hypocritical. It's so hypocritical that, that people talk the way they do. And it irks the mess out of me. So, I let people do what they do. Because people are going to do what they want. It's just, it is what it is. So, yeah, that post was not smart. But I blame Paula White. All y'all that used to be Paula White fans now are criticizing her. Y'all are hypocrites too. Y'all loved her when she was with TD Jakes. Now y'all are criticizing her. And I agree, she's worthless in my opinion. I just don't know why he picked her. He could have picked a whole lot better. I blame her because she's supposed to be supposedly the spiritual advisor for whatever. No. Bad choice. And all y'all people criticizing her probably used to be fans of hers when she was with T.D. Jakes. So y'all hypocrites too. So, yeah, it's just a big mess lately, and social media and the news is just so negative, so bad. But they know they have the power to shape things. And again, going back to Iran, they know that. They know social media is where the power is now. They know that's where the pressure is. And they know if they can hold out, social media is going to break down the American public to where we're going to be demanding that the president do something. And they know this. This is the only leverage they have left. It's the only leverage they have left. They thought oil was leverage. Well, they miscalculated on that one because President Trump just won on that one, because now they're coming to us for oil. So they don't have that leverage anymore. That's gone. And all the other Middle East countries are going to Plan B to get their oil out. So they lost on that one too. They lost their military, now they've lost their oil. So the only thing they've got left is the power of social media and the division we have in this country, which is a large one. I don't think we'll ever come together again as one nation like we did during the World Wars, or after 9/11. I don't think we'll ever see that again. We're too divided. We have no stomach for anything. We have no national unity. Everybody wants to be their own thing. We have no real national identity anymore. It's really just sad and pathetic. And they're counting on that. And it's probably a good bet. And I don't believe in gambling, but obviously they do. And they're gambling, and they're putting their bets that the American public is going to crumble, and it's not going to coalesce, and it's not going to come together. And they'd be right. They'd be right. They'd be absolutely right. We're not a nation that'll probably ever coalesce again. And it's a shame. It really is a shame that we can't even come together for anything. And, it is what it is. And so that's the only really weapon Iran has left, is holding out so that social media and the news media will put enough pressure on the president to take a deal that he doesn't want to take, to, save face. So we'll see. And then I think he criticized the Pope, which, look, the Pope's going to do what the Pope does. Trump should have left that alone. I don't agree with him going after the Pope. The Pope's going to say what he wants to say. It is what it is. I don't agree with the Pope theologically at all, but you have to respect him because not only is he considered royalty, but he's a a leader of a nation because the papacy is considered its own country. So he's a national leader, just like he president is. So he has his opinion. That's fine. Don't go after him. The Pope, really? Yeah, that doesn't look good. But whatever. It is what it is. I wouldn't have done it, but okay, just ignore him. Just ignore the Pope. The Pope's going to say what he wants to say. And the Pope's probably not even going to think twice about it. He's going to move on. He's got more important things to do. So, the Pope's job is a whole lot simpler than the president's. He's just, saying it's a whole lot simpler. So he's just going to move on. The Pope says what he says and moves on. So it is what it is. I wouldn't have went after him. That wouldn't have been my first choice. I just ignored him. He has the right to say whatever he wants, just like any other national leader does. But again, that's Trump. That's what he does. Take him for what he is. Good, bad, or indifferent. It is what it is. So yeah, other than that, that's why I came on, just kind of play catch up a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Everybody just kind of just do the best you can the way the gas prices are. It's worse in some places than it is in others, depending on where you live. If you live up north in the West Coast, it's really bad. But we just got to do the best we can. And hopefully things will get better here quickly, as quick as possible, of course. So yeah, I just think people need to calm down. They just need to get over stuff. They way too personally invested into this, and there's no reason for that. Most of us will never meet the president, never see the president, never talk to the president. And I've been on this earth 52 years. I've not met one president in person. I think I want to say maybe it was President Bush in passing, in the limo when he came to Alabama one time. He was riding through UAB, and I saw him pass by. That's as close as I'll ever get to a president. So people are just way too personally invested in it. And it's not to say that you can't have an opinion. Of course you can, but y'all are just way too personally invested into this, and y'all are taking way too much time to personally attack somebody that you'll never meet, you don't know, and you'll never see. And if you took that much energy to vote in your local and state politics, you don't have time to be worrying about what happens at the federal level. And again, I'm not saying don't have an opinion. I'm not saying don't vote. I'm not saying don't, whatever. That's fine. I mean, whatever. But y'all are way too personally invested into this. And for y'all to defame and slander and personally attack somebody that you don't know, you think you know, but you don't know because you're only believing what the news and social media tell you. You really don't know that person. You really don't know what's going on at the White House because nobody really knows what's going on in the White House except for a few. And then you go by what President Trump is as a person, knowing that he's that type of a person on purpose to get things done. But in reality, from other people, if you talk to other people, they're like, he's not like that at all in person. So that means a lot of what you see, when he does, the little, stuff with the media is a persona. But if you were to really know the man, he's probably totally different. But people take what the news and social media say and they run with it and they believe all the hype, they believe all the narratives, and that's on both sides. I'm not stressing on just one side. That's both sides are guilty of it. Instead of just saying, okay, you know what, we don't agree, but guess what? We want this country to be successful. We want the president to be successful, but maybe we need to look at doing something a little bit differently because we just don't agree how he did this. So let's find a way that we can agree on. Let's find a way where we both can be happy or at least satisfied with the way things are going. Not everybody's going to like you, and not everybody's going to be satisfied with what you do. That's just the way it is. If you try to do that, you're never going to be successful. So you just have to do what you feel is best for the country as the president. It's just that simple. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's the chance you take. This is his last hurrah, so, he's going for the gusto. Despite what people say, he might be going for a third term. I don't think that's going to happen. So, he's going for the gusto. Can't blame him. He's not up for re-election. So he's going for the gusto, as any second term president would do. You go for the gusto. First term president, only goes so far because they might want to get reelected. Second term, they're going all out. So, it is what it is. I just wanted to come on here and talk about that. It was just on me to finally put a video out. I know I don't do it often, hence the reason I only have 39 subscribers. But I'm appreciative of the chance just to be able to just sit and talk and vent. Again, these are my opinions, my worldview, my experiences. You don't have to agree with them, and that's okay. But be respectful in the comments, because if not, they're just not going to be on there. It's just that simple. Because even if I don't agree with you, I'm going to be respectful. And I'm trying to find a way, find stuff we do agree on, and then focus on that. That's just the way I am. I'm not much for arguing. I don't like it. I was never a good debater, because I like to focus on what we agree on. What do we agree on? Okay, well, let's focus on that, and let's work from there. I don't like to argue people down. Even when the Bible says we shouldn't argue folk down, that's just not what we should be doing. When we're witnessing to people, we shouldn't be arguing folk down. That's not what we're there for. We give them the word. They either take it or they don't. It's just that simple. So we just have to be more wise about how we do things. We got to use some common sense, and we got to stop being so personally invested in people we don't know and will never meet. There's nothing wrong with being involved, but don't be so personally invested in people you don't even know and will never meet. And then you believe what other people tell you instead of finding out for yourself. It's ridiculous. And at this point, you almost can't believe nobody. So you might as well just say, you know what? We're just going to let it roll because we don't know who to believe anymore. And you know what? And that's a viable statement to make. You don't know who to believe anymore in the media anymore, because everybody has a bias. So because we all have biases of one form or another, we just need to, okay, you don't have to like it. Fine. Say your piece and move on. Give it to God. Move on. There are more important things to be worrying about than what the president is doing in Iran right now. Because of gas prices, maybe you need to adjust your budget. Maybe you need to tighten up on this. Do something over here. Make sure about this. There are more important things to be worrying about right now. Especially when the Iran thing is basically over with. The military portion of it, anyways. Now, what Israel does is their business. I could care less what Israel does. Israel's going to do what Israel wants to do. And I think the argument was made that, Iran, that Iran is trying to, distance themselves from Hezbollah. Well, you can't. they're talking about, well, we ain't got nothing to do with Hezbollah. Well, we ain't got nothing to do with Israel then. So somebody's lying. Who is it? So again, you can be respectful and all this with Judaism, but that doesn't mean that you have to agree with the government of Israel. That's just a stupid thing to say. It's all or nothing. That's just dumb. That's just so dumb, because the government of Israel has nothing to do with the religion. It's convenient that they are all Jews, but that doesn't mean that they are either practicing Jews or they're actually living the life. They just all claim to be Jews because, and that's how they get the sympathy, and that's how they get the support, because they claim that, you know, this, that, or the other, or they make you feel bad because their parents were Holocaust survivors or their grandparents were Holocaust survivors. And yes, that was a horrible time in human history, but that ain't got nothing to do with the government. That's individuals who are persecuted for believing in a religion that the Nazis didn't like. They ain't got nothing to do with you as a government. You have nothing to do with that. So, and Americans are waking up to the fact that, the Israelis, the Israeli sympathy is waning in this country, because, I mean, again, Israel could do whatever it wants. It just doesn't need to bring us into it. We got to stop doing what we're doing. Let Israel do their thing. Let them do their thing. We can still continue to be allies, but we don't need to be just jumping, into things just because. I mean, look, I almost forgot to talk about this. Look at what's happening with NATO. The president wanted the NATO to let us use some of the bases that we jointly use, because we're a part of NATO. Well, a lot of these countries said no, because they were afraid of Iran, because they have these large Muslim populations in their country, and they were afraid. So they told us no, which is stupid. We're a NATO member, but it's stupid. But on the same token, it is their country, but it's a NATO base, and we're a NATO member. So my thing is, okay, yeah, you can say no, but why would you say no if we're a NATO member? Because we pay more than every other country in NATO to use all these bases. And we have soldiers in Europe protecting you, but yet now we can't use your bases because you're afraid of Iran? Because you get your oil from there? How is that our fault? It's not that necessarily he wanted them to join into the fight, because what were they going to contribute? Almost nothing. And then when the UK wanted to contribute something, it was too late. So, okay. Now they may want to join in the blockade. Okay, well, better late than never, I guess. But I'm not saying we necessarily should leave NATO, but I think the countries that denied us basing and were against us, we should consider pulling. If we have troops in our country, we should just pull them out. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere where we're wanted. There's no reason why we, the United States, should be in countries that don't want us. I never understood that fact, even as NATO members. Okay. And I understand the Secretary General of NATO is a friend of the president, and he understands that without the U.S., the NATO is basically nothing, which is true. NATO is nothing without the U.S. This is very true. Very true. We've always been the foundation of NATO. We're the ones that give the most money. We have that is very true. And I'm not saying we should, but it's definitely now in the conversation. And it's possible that a lot of these European countries might be happy about that. You know what? And that's okay. That's okay. It's all good. In my opinion, if they don't want us there, then we don't need to be there. Ukraine's not our war, but guess what? We contributed more money than Europe has. So it's just a lot of stuff going on. And like I said, I think NATO has always been, in my opinion, and I was stationed in Germany. I worked with Germans, trained with Germans, good people, good troops. I enjoyed my time training with them, but I just think NATO. I think they're right. I think NATO is just like kind of like a big, huge paper tiger, and without the U.S., NATO would be absolutely zero. In my opinion, I don't even know why Ukraine wants to join. So I don't understand it. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens. Um, there are some countries that really don't like us, and that's fine. If you don't like us, that's cool. We'll just pull our folks out. It's all good. We don't have to be there. No problem. Maybe there's another country that'll take us, and if not, that's fine. Bring them home. Bring them home. We got plenty of bases here in the United States. They can be stationed there. Bring them home. Or send them to the Pacific. Bring them home. Bring them home. I'm fine with that. It don't bother me in the least. Bring them home. They can go to Fort Hood, Fort Bragg, one of them big posts. Bring them home. Or maybe reopen one of these bases they closed because they ain't got enough room in them other posts so they can bring these folk home. I'm fine with that too. Bring these folk home. If the countries don't want us, why are we there? Let's just come home if they can't go somewhere else. These countries are tired of us being there. Leave. We got 12 aircraft carriers. We can project power anywhere in the world. It's just not. It's not for us to protect everybody anymore. We got to worry about ourselves. And so if the president decides to pull folks out and do all that stuff, I'm all for it. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Now, if there are some European countries that want us there, then fine. They can stay there. But if they don't want us, we ain't got to be there. Whether it be Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, whatever. If they don't want us there, then we don't need to be there. It's cool. No problem. We'll up and leave here. Not a problem. Not a problem. That's just my opinion. Like I said, I've been stationed in Europe. I've trained with these folk. All of them are good people. But again, without the U.S., NATO would be absolutely nothing. Or it'd be next to nothing. And again, it's not no shade on these other countries' militaries, but we're the foundation, backbone, and everything else of NATO. If the U.S. pulls out, NATO is nothing, zero. So, hey, it is what it is. Maybe it's time. Maybe we'll see. Maybe it is. But it's fine. Again, they can tell the U.S. no, you can't land in our territory. But are we not NATO members along with you? Are we not allowed to use these bases too? I'm confused. So what's the advantage of being a NATO member if I can't use NATO bases? I'm confused. So I'm a NATO member. I pay the most money out of all the members of NATO. I'm doing an action that you don't necessarily agree with. So you're not allowing me to use your base because you don't agree with it, or you're afraid of Iran. So you're not going to allow me to use this base, even though you all agree that Iran shouldn't have a nuclear weapon, but you don't want to do anything about it. So the United States has finally decided to do something about it. Now everybody wants to say, no, you can't use our bases. I'm confused. What's the advantage of being a NATO member? Well, maybe somebody can answer that question for me. I'm just a little confused. And again, I get, I guess the country has a right to say we can't fly through their airspace. That's fine. But what's the advantage of using a NATO base as a NATO member? I'm not asking you to go over there and fight the conflict or drop the bombs. We're dropping the bombs. We just need to use your base to refuel, rearm, and then go. This ain't got nothing to do with you. We just need the base. That's all. But okay. Okay. So, like I said, maybe it is time. So, we'll see. Anyways, I'm done. I want to thank everybody, of course, for leaving their comments and their likes and whatnot. Thankful for everybody being respectful, and thankful for my subscribers. Thank you for the few I do have. I'm very thankful for you, though. And just thankful to be able to just kind of vent and talk. And so, as always, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share this with somebody if you think it's good enough to be shared. And until next time, God bless you.